You are Locked On Warriors Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, welcome in. It is the Warriors Postcast. You may notice I'm not your usual host, Matt Kolsky, filling in for Eric Engel tonight. And listen, it's not going to be all doom and gloom for me because it could have been a lot worse. And although the final score, what is it? I mean, it's a 24-point loss in the end. There were a couple of encouraging signs from the Warriors tonight. And look, when Steph Curry is injured, you're just trying to hang on. You will take what you can get, even if it's just encouraging signs. 2 more games to get one, as far as I see it. And based on what I saw tonight, I'm not ruling it out. So let's talk about what we're talking about.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Indeed. Yes, it's a loss. 24 points. Not great. On the plus side, I think the Warriors found some things tonight that worked, at least better than the other things, against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The defense and effort were still fully there for my money. And, small victories, but that's important. Tonight, in my book, there was never really a point where I thought tonight was going to be a Warriors win. I don't know that you had any reason to believe tonight was going to be a Warriors win once you knew the Steph Curry situation. And there's going to be some shell shock. You imagine Minnesota's coming back tougher. But I actually saw some things tonight that encouraged me to a point where I didn't expect to be encouraged, if that's fair. Is that a damning with faint praise? Perhaps. But what I saw was a team that still defended at a level that for most of the night was good enough to win. I mean, 117 ultimately, they had their worst defensive quarter in the final quarter, giving up 32. But a decent portion of that happened in those last few minutes after Steve Kerr waved the white flag. So defense, effort, on point, rebounding the basketball after some snafus in the first half, on point, and some rotations tonight that I think give you some things to think about and be encouraged about heading into Saturday's extra big game. Now, we always do a turning point on the postcast, and it's not going to be easy tonight, folks.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The turning point tonight. I have 2 options. One of the options for tonight's turning point was tonight's turning point midway through game 1 when Steph Curry pulled his hamstring. If it wasn't that, my second option is, about the first 4 minutes, I would say, where the Warriors failed to score a single point. I think it got up to 13 or 15-0 before they finally got a bucket from Jimmy Butler. Of all things, a 3-pointer from Jimmy Butler. Yeah, it was 13-0. Look, this game was lost at the beginning, if not before it started. I don't know that there was a turning point to speak of. But again, we're going to find a way to take some positives away from this thing. We are going to find a way because I legitimately believe they're there. We're going to get to the player of the game segment where I believe some of the positives lie in just a second. But first, we got to thank our sponsors. Today, we are brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. All right, so what are we doing here? Upwork gives you flexibility by connecting your business with the best freelance talent across multiple industries. That includes IT, AI, web development, marketing, and whether you need just a few extra hands for a project or you're looking for a long-term partner, Upwork makes it simple and affordable. You need help with a marketing campaign. Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who will deliver incredible results. And it's all very easy. Posting a job, free and simple. Within a day, you're going to have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Right now, you can visit Upwork.com and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. We're also brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing quite like the atmosphere of the NBA playoffs. And folks, Game Time is going to help you be a part of that excitement without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get your playoff tickets, even with the crazy demand that you're going to have this weekend in the Bay Area. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer. Last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I use Game Time. First of all, those last-minute deals I just mentioned, hard to beat 60% savings. Sports, comedy, theater, concerts, go see a musical. Game Time has it all, and you can save a bunch of money. Plus, all-in pricing. I don't like the apps where it says the ticket's $45, and then by the time you're checking out, it's $67. No, I'm not here for that. Give me the full price, all-in, upfront. I want to know. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time right now. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and you can use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Use it for the playoffs right now. Save $20. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, Locked On NBA, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And we are also brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know every single missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, like you really needed a plumber to fix a leak. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait, call again a bunch of times? Probably not. You moved on. You found someone who was ready to answer your call. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. It's going to let you manage your business calls and texts all from one app. They got a shared inbox feature, which is a total game changer. That means anyone in your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat. And AI agents to handle after-hours calls, answer common questions, capture leads so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone right now offering listeners to this show, watchers to this show, I should say. And speaking of the watchers, let's make sure we're looking at OpenPhone on the display. All you got to do to get 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. Let me say that again. OpenPhone is offering listeners and watchers of this show 20% off their first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's find our way back to the show. All right, so as I said, to me, player of the game, listen, we could pick a Timberwolf, it would probably be Julius Randle. He really came out, set the tone for them, nearly had a triple-double on the night. But that's not what I'm going to do.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Anyone who has followed my coverage of the Warriors over the last few years will not be shocked. And I apologize for being a meme of myself and incredibly predictable. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, your player of the game is Jonathan Kuminga. And I'll tell you why. it's not because he absolutely put the lie to Steve Kerr's nonsense about not playing him. It is not because he hit his first, 8 shots of the game and was really the only explosive scorer for the Warriors on the night. I mean, Butler ended up having 17. So he was only 1 point away from Kuminga, but obviously did it in nearly 10 extra minutes and did it the way Jimmy Butler did it. Slow, picking his spots here and there. Kuminga was the guy tonight who looked like he could get in a scoring competition, at least for a short amount of time, with Minnesota. And boy, if we learned anything tonight, on a night where they lost by 24 and only had 93 points, they're going to need help offensively over these next few games. There's no two ways about it. They're, with Steph Curry out, all right, you've got Jimmy Butler, obviously, depending on him to do scoring significantly more than he did tonight. He's got to be more aggressive, but I do think hopefully we'll see that at home. And maybe more to the point, Jimmy Butler is in his own category when Steph is not around. All right. Who else is going to score points for this team? Realistically, all due respect, love the guy, probably not going to ask Draymond Green to be counted on for consistent scoring. All right. Buddy Hield has been a great candidate, but you're going to get nights like tonight where, he kept putting it up, but he's 5 for 14 overall. 4 for 9 from 3 isn't bad. 15 points, you'll take it. But this is certainly far from the worst Buddy night. But again, not necessarily a guy you're going to count on to put up points every night. Brandon Pajemski, mediocre tonight. Really been struggling lately. Moses Moody, struggling even more than that lately. Gary Payton, not really a guy you think of when it comes to the offensive end. Kevon Looney, when he plays, not an offensive player. Guy Santos, Pat Spencer, G-Leaguers. And look, I love the Pat Spencer story as much as the next guy. It's inspiring. The best lacrosse player in the country. Transfers to Northwestern, which, I grew up in Evanston, Illinois. I have love for the Wildcats and Pat Spencer. I do. But I think you saw tonight that Pat Spencer is overmatched in a high leverage playoff game. He's trying. He's going to attack. He's going to do everything he can. And he's going to be a minus 20 in 13 minutes and 51 seconds. No points, 3 turnovers. Sorry, the 3 turnovers are Guy. No points, 1 turnover, 2 fouls. It was not great. And as I sort of just hinted at, it was worse for Guy Santos. These are the guys that Steve Kerr has leaned towards. Certainly Peyton, Moody, Looney over Kuminga. Post, who also, he only got 3 minutes, but it was an ugly 3 minutes out there tonight. These guys are not going to be the guys that help the Warriors keep up with the Timberwolves offensively. Jonathan Kuminga showed you tonight he's at least capable of that. I wish I had faith that Steve Kerr was definitely going to play Jonathan Kuminga, maybe even more, but at least something like the 26 minutes he played tonight when we get back to San Francisco on Saturday. I hope that's the plan. I truly do. But I will say, when you see a night like tonight, I hope people understand why guys like me, and for what it's worth, much more reputable guys than me, the Marcus Thompsons, the Anthony Slaters, the Zach Lowe's of the world, have been saying really Kuminga belongs in this rotation. And when your best moments tonight, in a brutal circumstance, have Kuminga on the floor with Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Brandon Pajemski, and either Buddy or Gary Payton, it makes it hard for me to believe that Jonathan Kuminga can't play with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. So I hope not only that we see Kuminga extensively on Saturday and Monday in games where we know Steph Curry is not going to play, because, again, you just need points. And even if he's not going to keep playing as well as he did tonight, even if we're going to see, some of the mistakes that have characterized the bad Kuminga outings, and I'm not ruling that out, that still happens. That's part of the consequence of having a player who's never really had faith put in him by the organization in his 4-year career. But even if you get those mistakes, I think it's non-negotiable to have the guy on the floor. Life without Steph is going to be incredibly difficult. And even on their best days, Moses Moody, Gary Payton, these guys are not creating their own easy buckets. They're just not. They can finish easy buckets from other guys. When Moody's shooting it, when Gary is shooting it or cutting to the rim, other guys can make plays for those dudes to score. But this is a roster that is incredibly short on guys who can make their own plays to score the basketball. And Jonathan Kuminga is one of those guys. So hopefully, we will see him a lot on Saturday. And the other thing about tonight for me is really the Jimmy Butler issue. I love Jimmy Butler. He's been one of my favorite players for his whole career. And I don't doubt what he's capable of. And I don't doubt that the reason he's not being more aggressive is that he's more committed to making the right basketball play all the time. And you know what, folks? That's admirable stuff. It is. And there should be more players like that in the NBA. But there are times when you are as good as Jimmy Butler, or frankly, no matter how good you are precisely, there are times when you are the best available player for your team and the rest of the roster is looking particularly ragged. There are times that the best pure basketball play is not the right play for you in this specific situation. And for me, Jimmy Butler has probably been erring on the wrong side of that equation since he got to the Warriors most of the time. Which is to say, look, he's been great. And you love a guy who makes the right basketball play all the time. And his defense is never not on point. But right now, they need him to score. And they need it pretty desperately. If Jimmy Butler isn't at least in the mid to high 20s, I can't imagine a scenario where a Warriors team without Steph Curry can beat these Timberwolves. I think you saw tonight in their best moments with Kuminga rolling, with Draymond controlling things, and Jimmy Butler bruising his way into the paint here and there. You saw something like a formula. And it's not a fail-safe formula. It's not a foolproof formula, right? I don't know that the Warriors without Steph Curry, if everybody plays their best game, the Timberwolves probably win. But rarely does everyone play their best game. And I think the Warriors showed you tonight, particularly with some second half lineup combinations, that there are ways they can still compete with this Timberwolves team. And although it ends in a 24-point loss tonight, my hope would be that what Steve Kerr saw convinces him to put those lineup combinations on the floor on Saturday. And look, I actually am feeling pretty hopeful for that home game. Defense, effort, and you got to find that scoring. The question is, where does it come from? I guess we'll see you on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We out.